Hi, my name is Shavani Somerville, and I'll be presenting on mental health. Here's my outline. What is mental health? How can we promote mental health? I'll be discussing 3 issues that America faces in terms of mental health care as it relates to health promotion and disease prevention. I'll be discussing stigma, lack of support, /awareness and knowledge, access to care, what challenges I see in my community, and as a advanced practice nurse, how can I help with this issue when I start my practice? What is mental health? According to the World Health Organization WHO, mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. What is mental health as it relates to promotion? Mental health is as important as physical health. Every decision starts in the mind and is usually manifested through actions. If an individual's thoughts are disruptive, their actions can potentially be troublesome. Promoting good mental health can improve an individual's mental and psychological well-being. The World Health Organization works to improve the mental health of individuals and society at large, in the promotion of mental well-being, the prevention of mental disorders, the protection of human rights, and caring for people affected by mental illness. How can we promote mental health? We can promote mental health by fostering individual competency, provide resources, highlight the individual's psychological strength, strengthen our community assets by reducing risk factors, enhance overall well-being to ultimately improve the quality of life for mentally ill individuals and their communities. How can we promote mental health? Some health promotion strategies can include implementing health enhancing public policy, employment opportunities, anti-discriminatory laws, creating supportive environments, parenting interventions, strengthening community actions, participatory research, media campaigns, developing personal skills, resilience, and reorienting health services, postpartum depression screenings to enhance mental health. How can we promote mental health continues? Implementing a focus on positive mental health to empower potential resources, broaden inclusivity of psychological assets and skills which are essential to human fulfillment and well-being. Positive emotions, broadening and building that. Regulating negative emotions, creating positive individual traits such as resilience and optimism, and improving character strength. Introduction to challenges affecting mental health. Mental illness is potentially a major global challenge and presents as an epidemic of the 21st century. In the United States, almost half of adults, 46.4%, will experience a mental illness during their lifetime. 5% of adults 18 or older experience a mental illness in any 1 year, equivalent to 43.8 million people. Of adults in the United States with any mental disorder in a 1 year period, 14.4% have one disorder, 5.8% have two disorders, and 6% have three or more. Half of all mental disorders begin by age 14 and 3/4 by age 24. In the United States, only 41% of the people who have a mental disorder in the past year receive professional health care or other services. The multiple statistics can provide evidence to the urgency in the need to address challenges associated with mental health. Nevertheless, mental health is undermined, underfunded, and discarded over physical health. Now we're going to move into the 3 issues that I've chose that the United States faces in terms of mental health. The first one will be stigma. Second one will cover lack of support as it relates to awareness and knowledge, and lack of access to care. As shown in the diagram or the image, stop the stigma. Stigma such as self-stigma, stereotype, prejudice, discrimination, which are like negative beliefs about themselves. Prejudice such as disagreement with their belief, negative emotional reaction, low self-esteem. Discrimination behaviors response to prejudice, like failure to pursue their job and housing. Public stigma is like stereotype, prejudice, discrimination as well. Stereotypes such as negative belief about the group, like they're dangerous or they're incompetent and they're weak. And prejudice, agreements with belief and negative emotional reaction like anger or fear. Discrimination, behaviors response to like prejudice. Avoidance, withholding like their employment so they can't get any housing, they can't get a job, and they just don't get any help. Now, in covering lack of support, I'm just going to go over just lack of support in general. Generally, everyone needs support. However, there is a lack of support in the mental health community. Social support provides physical and psychological advantages for people faced with stressful physical and psychosocial events, and is considered as a factor to reducing the psychological distress when faced with stressful events. Lack of support due to knowledge. So they don't know what's wrong with these people. They don't know what's going on. Sometimes it can be difficult to balance showing support with caring for your health, your own health, and encouraging others to be responsible for their actions. So lack of knowledge can restrict people from attempting to provide the necessary support. Lack of knowledge on mental health conditions can hinder an individual from providing support as well. Lack of support due to awareness. While most Americans do try to seek out treatment, there is also a large portion of the population who have wanted to but did not seek treatment for themselves or for their loved ones, in part because they don't know, they're not aware of where to go, they're not aware of the services. What's more, 53 million American adults, that's 21%, have wanted to seek professional help, but they were unable to for reasons out of their control. Now moving into lack of access. Costs. That's one of the big things with mental health. The cost, not having insurance is another thing. But firstly, cost of mental health service has always been a great barrier to accessing care for people with mental health problems. People with mental health problems who are newly eligible to purchase private insurance under the Act might still find high cost barriers to accessing care. High cost and insufficient insurance coverage. 42% of the population saw cost and poor insurance coverage as the top barrier for accessing mental health care. 1 in 4, 25% Americans reported having to choose between getting mental health treatment and paying for daily necessities. Limited options and long waits are also limited access. Access to face-to-face services is a higher priority for Americans seeking mental health treatment than to access medication. So they'll rather get care for their mental health than actually take the medication itself. 96 million Americans, or 38%, have had to wait longer than 1 week for mental health treatment, and nearly half of Americans, or 46%, have had to or know someone who has had to drive more than an hour round trip to seek treatment. So what challenges do I see in my community as an African American woman? In the African American community, many people misunderstand what mental illness is. They don't really know what it is. They really don't want to talk about it. So there's a lack of knowledge, which leads people to believe that mental illness condition is a personal weakness or some sort of punishment from God. African American may be reluctant to discuss mental health issues and seek treatment because of the shame and the stigma associated with such conditions. African American women in particular, use of mental health services also may be influenced by barriers, including access, inaccessible location, transportation problem, lack of health insurance and poverty, availability of service, few opportunities for group counseling and in-home services, social issues, lack of childcare, poor quality of care, limited access to cultural competency, clinicians and case managers, and cultural matching, few opportunities to work with racial and ethnic minority clinicians. Poverty is one of the big ones too. Poverty levels affect mental health status. African Americans living below the poverty level as compared to those over twice the poverty level or twice as likely to report psychological distress. Stigma is big. Stigma have been identified as the most significant barrier to seeking mental health services among African Americans. Very little attention has been given to examining the stigma, the belief around mental illness that might be associated with the stigma, and how these beliefs may affect the approach to coping. As a new advanced practice nurse, how can I help with this issue when I start my practice? As a new APRN, to combat the issues correlated to mental health, I aim to be a part of the solution and not the problem by promoting mental health awareness, provide social support, implementing programs that troubleshoot strategies to reduce that big stigma in my community. I would provide education for early recognition of mental health conditions, help to identify these people who are seeking help and just trying to identify those behaviors and how they manifest in their families, how it manifests into in that individual and in that vulnerable community. I would institute services through social networks and fundraisers to improve established mental health services. I would highlight the message that health is not holistic if we do not take a major look at mental health. Conclusion. The body, like the mind, will experience changes and will require treatment to return to homeostasis. Mental illness accounts for about 1/3 of the world's disability caused by all adult health problems, resulting in enormous personal suffering and economic costs. It is estimated that 350 million individuals experience depression annually. Mental health has been a part of the great debate in gun control. It is time that we accept mental health as a health condition. Mental health is not separate from health. It is health. A healthy mind aids in maintaining a healthy individual. I'll end with these words. Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Thank you for listening.